But tonight, we begin with a story that will not and should not go away for, well, history, forever. Democrats, their friends in the state-run legacy media mob, they worked in unison to cover up Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline. This was a brazen attempt, frankly, a conspiracy, to use a phrase, to deceive all of you, to deceive the American people. They hated Donald Trump so much that they were more than willing to put Americans at risk, handing over the keys to our country and our nuclear arsenal to someone that they knew was in a steep cognitive decline. Nearly every elected Democrat, every White House official, every Biden family member, every, single so-called journalist, they lied over and over and over and over again. This is the single biggest, most widespread political White House scandal in our lifetime. No other way to describe this. And it was also the dumbest lie ever told. They asked all of you not to believe your lion eyes and your lion ears. Meanwhile, we simply reported the obvious truth here on this program. My humble advice to every American watching tonight is forever, you cannot trust fake news CNN, MSDNC. You can't trust the broadcast channels, ABC, CBS, NBC. Stop reading the New York Times. Stop reading the Washington Post. Stop listening to NPR. And frankly, you can get your news right here on this show, on Fox News, talk radio, maybe podcasters that you like, know, and trust. You might not always agree with my political beliefs, but we're not going to spend 5 years lying to your face. We told you the truth about Russia collusion. They lied. We told you the truth about the valuation of Mar-a-Lago. They lied. We told you the truth about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. They lied. But don't take my word for it. Let's take a look at the timeline, shall we? Let us begin in 2019, the very beginning of Joe Biden's presidential campaign. From the very moment that he threw his hat in the ring, something seemed off. Let's take a trip down memory lane.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330.
We choose truth over facts.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear words.
This was not the Vice President Biden that you were all familiar with. It was clear, it was obvious, it was self-evident. Joe didn't talk the same, he didn't walk the same, he didn't look the same. Way back in August of 2019, it was obvious to me that Joe Biden was in a decline, and that's exactly what we reported right here on this show. Take a look. While his allies are trying to downplay it, there is a panic. All Joe being Joe, the verbal mishaps are piling up by the second, raising serious questions among Democrats about his viability. Well, let's just put it this way. I would argue that David Axelrod is right. That's probably the best you're going to get out of sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe. He's losing his fastball. I am in a little better shape. Anyway, unfortunately, anyone who dared to speak the truth was excoriated by the left-wing legacy media mob. Take a look.
When he was on the stage, the decision he made in the moment was an unsubtle allusion to Alzheimer's or ageism. Yeah. Now, if he thinks that's winning, good luck. And if he thinks that the notion that, again, people have talked about Joe Biden's weaknesses as a candidate. If you actually think he's weak, then he'll fall on his own sort of time.
Now, a year later, let's follow the timeline. In 2020, the same pattern continued. Now, if you are a loyal viewer to this program for any length of time, you are very, very familiar with this alarming moment from then candidate Joe Biden, created by the thing, God, the creator of everything. Take a look.
It's time for America to get back up on its feet and once again fight for the proposition that we hold these truths to be self-evident. Sounds corny. Not a joke. Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. You know how we talk about it. Are we the people?
Corny, not a joke. Think about it. The thing. Once again, we observed the truth. And immediately, we told you, our viewers, a reminder. As a voter, it is fair for every American to ask whether or not this 78-year-old has the strength, the stamina, the focus, and the capacity to handle what is by far the toughest job in the world. Now, to me, quid pro quo Joe seems to be in a rapid state of decline and not up to the rigors needed even on a campaign. Now, over there on fake news CNN, the reporting was much different. Instead of telling you that the people that watch, the very few people that watch that network, well, they spread blatant lies, propaganda, misinformation. Take a look.
This is Joe Biden out there on a vigorous bike ride. Not wearing a helmet, but definitely wearing a mask, by the way. Fox's narrative and talk radio's narrative for months has been that Joe Biden is falling apart. You just heard Ben Shapiro say it, falling apart. And there he is riding a bike, out for a bike ride.
Humpty Dumpty, you want to take that back? Don't forget, Humpty Dumpty tells everyone he's a reporter, which is another lie. None of these people are, quote, journalists, as they claim. They are leftist, activist, talk show hosts that are merely part of the Democratic machine, frankly, nothing more than an extension of their press offices. They're not honest about who they are. And that brings us to 2021 in our timeline. Biden got a year older, and his mental condition got even worse. We observed obvious mental fog, too many gaffes to count, and to top it all off, Joe barely ever did unscripted pressers. Let me go to Sam, who's going to ask me about the budget. I mean, that's how it went down. And he spent most of his weekends in Delaware, could barely even drag his beach chair around. But according to MSDNC, competence was at the helm. Take a look.
We cannot downplay the comfort that some of us feel in the country, that government is actually working, or at least trying to work, that competence is actually at the helm.
More lies from the state-run legacy media mob. Let's go to 2022. Joe Biden's decline, it continued. Take a look at your screen. Dazed and confused, Joe Biden mumbling, bumbling, stumbling. He barely, look at this case, get his jacket on without help from Dr. Jill. But again, anyone who reported the truth, we were viciously attacked. We were accused of ageism. Take a look.
What about the respect for elders thing that we talk about? Because we treat, I think, our elderly people we don't support them and honor them as much as other countries. Is there, and it's a little bit difficult sometimes to talk about these issues and to speak of a president that way.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I think one of the biggest challenges we face is ageism, right?
Fake news, CNN running cover once again. A year later, 2023, Biden was on MSDNC, and for some reason, he just got up and wandered off the set while the show was live, on air. It was just, I'm leaving now, just walked off the set. The legacy media mob still lied to your face. In fact, CNN continued to blame Biden's lifelong stutter. Nobody ever talked about his stutter for his unusual behavior. Take a look.
President Biden does have word-finding difficulties. He does. I mean, anytime you hear him in a speech, he does stumble. And I don't know if that's his stutter or if that's the prompter. But he does. And as you know, his critics seize on that.
And this brings us to 2024, Biden's last year as your so-called president. Was he really? Anyway, as most of you know, Joe Biden was an utter train wreck. He barely worked, took a lot of naps, including during public meetings. Let's call a lid at 8 o'clock in the morning, meaning you won't see the president for the rest of the day. He wandered off, remember, during the G7 meeting in France, while other world leaders anxiously looked on. Come on, Joe, let me steer you back to where you belong. He also seemed completely lost during a Juneteenth concert, looking off into the distance without, with the 1,000-yard stare of his. At one point in 2024, he even walked straight into a jungle during a trip to Latin America. I'm going to go for a walk. I mean, we showed you all of this very real footage. Remember, he would shake air, and he didn't know whether to go exit left or exit right. He had no idea. Somebody would have to, oh, come on, Joe, we'll walk you off the stage. We would show you this footage day in, day out, night in, night out, while the other media outlets accused us of producing what they called cheap fake videos. Take a look.
We're hearing about so-called cheap fakes. It's playing out on right-wing media, Fox, New York Post, and so on. And all of this is to try to make the case that Biden is slipping, he's confused, and so on.
There are a lot of videos going around about President Biden on social media. Which ones are real? Which ones are deceptively edited, now being called cheap fakes?
A lot of memes and what the White House is calling cheap fakes.
Cheap fakes are a little bit simpler. They're cheap. They're just distorted, out of context videos, chopped up in certain ways, constructed in certain ways. That's what we're seeing. That's what the Biden administration, the Biden campaign is so worried about right now.
That's June of 24. They had 4 long years to figure out what we figured out in 2019. And it gets worse. March of 2024, Liberal Joe, our old friend, proclaiming Joe Biden was his best self intellectually, analytically. What planet is he living on? Take a look.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it.
Hey, Joe, I could use your words. F you for lying. Lying to the American people. Even after Biden's disastrous debate performance in 2024, there was still some on fake news CNN making excuses for Joe until he was officially out of the presidential race. Take a look.
In several events since the CNN debate, President Biden has appeared vigorous. He has had a really busy, jam-packed schedule where you haven't seen what we all saw on the debate stage.
He never had a jam-packed schedule. My big question is tonight, if Democrats, their friends in the state-run legacy media mob are willing to lie so blatantly about all of this, what won't they lie about? As it turns out, their rampant dishonesty extends to almost everything. I don't have time to list every lie. They have done nothing but lie and lie again and again and peddle one conspiracy theory about Donald Trump after another. And they even got Pulitzer Prizes for lying. And they won't give them back. It's repulsive. It is corrupt. It is the biggest presidential scandal in history. Well, right up there. Here's one quick example. This is fake Jake Tapper defending Hunter Biden in 2019, 20, and 23. Now he's criticizing him. Take a look.
Whatever you think of Hunter Biden, and there's certainly a lot of people in this town, Democrats and Republicans, that do not think a lot of him, there is a certain kind of cruelty to the campaign against him. Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? The right wing is going crazy with all sorts of allegations about Biden and his family, too disgusting to even repeat here. I mean, some of the ones I've seen from the president's son and some of the president's supporters are just wildly unhinged. I think that you came here and leveled a bunch of accusations and allegations about Hunter Biden.
I didn't level. I just said the facts.
Now, that was before Biden's exit from public life. Now here's fake Jake admitting the truth. He's trying to make money selling a book. Take a look.
Well, I think Hunter was driving the decision-making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him.
And I have no personal regard for you either, fake Jake. You're trying to make money criticizing the very lying that you were a huge part of. Why would anyone buy that book or trust anyone at fake news CNN ever again? They pretend to be honest, purveyors of truth, and that is a lie. But of course, it's not just the media. As Peter Doocy can report firsthand, then Biden White House at that time was a house of cards built on lies and smears. He's the only one I recall calling it out regularly. Take a look.
President Biden is the oldest president in U.S. history.
Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, like a baby.
So there's this book that says
That's ridiculous.
When
That's
staff
a
walk
ridiculous
back,
claim.
how is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you, sir.
One of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's totally
How bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad, I let you speak.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.